Hi everybody, my name's Cassie and I work here at the studio at Zulily. Today we're going to be decorating a fun birthday cake and we're going to be using products from Sweet Tooth Fairy. The first thing that you're going to want to do is level out your cakes. We already have some here that are baked for us, so we're just going to be putting them on this cake stand and then leveling them out. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my frosting that's pre-mixed here, and you're going to want to put it on the cake stand to create a little bit of an adhesive and center it on the cake tray. So then you're going to take your serrated knife or your cake leveler and you're just going to cut a little bit of the top layer off so that it'll be a more level surface to work with. And it helps if you kind of rotate your cake tray a little bit. That way you can just evenly go through it. I'm personally a fan of straight up vanilla cakes, but this works with any kind, chocolate, red velvet. It's a little bit more difficult to do if you use a cake that has any berries or nuts in it because sometimes your knife will get caught on it. So just kind of go around a little bit and you should be good to go. So once again, we're just gonna put some frosting down to create some adhesive. And it doesn't have to be perfect. No one's gonna see this part anyways. Today I'm using a buttercream frosting, but you can really use any type that you want. I also like to infuse my frosting sometimes, so I'll use some lemon or some lavender. You can even use rose water, and that adds a nice fresh brightness that's perfect for spring, perfect for weddings. So once again, we're gonna level off the top cake so it's a little bit more of an even surface to work with when we do start decorating. It becomes a little bit more difficult the more layers you have stacked. As you can see, the cake jiggles a little bit, but just have confidence in it. I'm sure you'll do great. This is what you would call a crumb layer or a crumb coat, and what that is going to do, it's going to seal in all those loose crumbs. We'll chill it for about 30 minutes, and then when we bring it out to put the final layer of frosting on, it won't get the crumbs all over your top coat. You want to make sure that your crumb coat isn't too thick though, that way it dries a little bit faster, and then you can get to the fun part of the decorating. I really like using a knife like this that has more of a tilted edge to it, so you can really get in there. Perfect. So I'm gonna pop this in the fridge and we'll let it chill for about 30 minutes and then we can decorate it with all the flowers and the fun sprinkles and all the other things we have to show you. So while our cake is chilling, I thought we could talk about some of the other fun tools we have today and practice our frosting techniques. So the first thing you're gonna do is mix up some fun colors. I'm actually using the same buttercream that we used when we adhered the cake to the cake pan and when we did the crumb coat. But I'm just going to mix some simple food coloring in with it to change the color and make it a little more fun. First I'm gonna do a blue. And that's pretty good for that one. So I'm gonna set this one aside and then we're gonna make another color too. And I'm not gonna want quite as much purple as blue, so I won't need to get as much. Do some blue, mix in a little red. When mixing food coloring into your frosting, it's a good idea to start small or just add a little bit at a time. Perfect. So those two look really nice together. So the tips that we're gonna be using today are these 4 here. I may not use all of them, I might just pick and choose. So I think the one that I'm gonna start with is the ribbon tip. It's the simplest one to use out of these 4 and you get the most variety with it. So you just get your pastry bag and you're gonna cut the little bit of a tip off. Just gonna put that in there. And then you're just gonna hold your pastry bag while you load up some of the frosting. And for this one, I'm gonna start with the blue. You wanna get the frosting down as far as you can into the bag. That way you don't end up with air bubbles. You get it in, just fold your top back up. And then gently push on it, so you're pushing it down towards the end where the frosting tip is. One of the things I love about these pastry bags is that they have these nice fill lines here. So it lets you know that you don't want to fill over that line or else you'll end up getting some of the frosting coming out the other end. You don't want that. I'm gonna use this one first, which is the ribbon one. Just want to twist it a little bit so that it's comfortable into your palm. And the ribbon's really cool because you just make these nice little up and down motions. And you get what looks like a ribbon. And then if we flip it over to the other side, isn't that cool? You can see that texture on it. There you go. This one, you're gonna push the very tip of this against your surface, whether that's a cake or your parchment paper. And you just twist back and forth, back and forth. So the possibilities really are endless. It's whatever you guys want to do for your cake. So those are some of our frosting tips. Let's go check on the cake and see if it's ready. So now that our cake is chilled, it's the fun part, the decorating part. So what you're gonna do is start putting on your top layer of the frosting since our crumb coat is all dried and chilled. Now for your top layer, instead of starting with a little bit like we did with the crumb coat, you actually wanna start with quite a bit of frosting. That way you have enough to spread through and it doesn't get caught in any of the layers. So we're just gonna kind of smooth it around a little bit, make it nice and even. It doesn't have to be perfect. And there we go. So the next step that I'm gonna do is use some of these cake combs to create some really fun textures on my cake. These are a really great tool. All you do is just put this along the top of your cake or the side of your cake, and it creates nice little designs and just different textures and shapes. Now, I do know that later on I am going to be decorating the top of the cake with some of these really fun letters. These are really great. You just take them, stick them in your cake, and you can spell whatever you want. Knowing that I'm going to be doing that though, I do know which of my cake combs I'm going to want to use. And that's going to be this one here. It'll just create a nice little ripple effect on the top of my cake as well as the sides. These are really easy to use. You just set them along your cake pan and just either spin your cake pan or just pull the comb towards you. You don't want to push it away because you'll end up pushing too much of the frosting off of it. I like to kind of pull the comb towards me versus spinning the cake pan or the cake tray entirely, or a little bit of a combination of the two. But it totally is personal preference. So the next step for this cake is using our frosting that we put in the piping bags earlier. We'll just create some ribbons, some flowers, really whatever you want to do on the cake. I'm going to start with my ribbon tip. Since we already have some design and texture on this cake, I'm going to use my smooth edge on this ribbon one. And I'm rotating the cake tray as I'm doing this. That way I can keep it as smooth as possible. So now that I have that, I think I'm going to do some flowers on top. So I'm going to be using the same tip that I used earlier. It's the Russian ball tip. We're just going to push this on the cake and go back and forth and back and forth. I'm going to do some more flowers along this edge here. And I'll probably do one over on this side as well. So this is another tip. This is a star tip. And I think I'm just going to do a little bit around the edge, but not cover the whole perimeter of it. Remember to apply pressure at the top of the bag versus the bottom. This is one of my favorite tips. There we go. Next step, sprinkles. We have these really fun sprinkles. There's a lot of different designs inside of them. So yeah, you can kind of see some of these little shapes there are in this one. There's a little moon, some stars, lots of different shapes. I like how dimensional these are, but there's different shades of blue, different shades of purple, some pink. Next, I'm going to use some rock candy sprinkles. These are really fun. They catch the light really nicely and add a little bit of sparkle. Okay, I think I'm happy with the sprinkles on this. One of the other great things that we do have are these letters that I briefly talked about earlier. So they're sold in these letterboard kits. And you just pull out whichever letters you want and you can spell whatever words you want. And there's our cake. The last step, candles. And it's as easy as that. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Please like, comment, and share.